And today is April 23rd, 2013. Thank you for joining us tonight. You're listening to episode 2 of Cop Block Radio. Cop Block Radio is a show dedicated to police accountability in the police state and is brought to you by CopBlock.org. If you'd like to submit a story or would like to talk about something on the show, please send us an email to CopBlockRadioShow@gmail.com. And also, if you have any questions you'd like addressed on the show, you can send those to the same place. I'm your host, Eric. You can find me over at freepress.com and ohiocopblock.org. And with me tonight, I have Adam from Spokane Cop Block, which you can find on Facebook. You can just search Spokane Cop Block, and you should be able to find them. How's it going?
That's going good. Hoping we have another good episode tonight. Got a lot of news stories to go over.
So we're trying to get on our third person. We're having technical difficulties just like last week. So hopefully we can get him on today, though. We might be making a little headway, so we'll see from there.
That's right.
So first up, this was actually, originally I saw it on CopBlock's website. There's a crime lab scandal in Massachusetts that may result in something like 34,000 cases being possibly thrown out because of a chemist falsifying results.
I read that. That was very interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do as far as all these cases that relied on this evidence of this particular lab tech.
And that's a huge number. 34,000 cases. You're talking about 34,000 people's lives could be just, oh, here, you're free.
Yeah, how does one person end up being involved in 34,000 cases anyways?
And well, my question is, how do you do 34,000 cases, and how do you get that far along before somebody notices you're not doing it correctly?
Exactly. You figure like the DA or someone in the chain of custody would figure out that something is wrong.
You would think.
Really, I don't have a whole lot about this. It's just crazy that these people's lives are hanging in the balance based off of evidence of a lab tech, which there's no third-party independent oversight of these lab techs. Whatever they say is gospel. So it's kind of concerning when this type of thing comes up.
Yeah, it is. It is, in my opinion. 34,000 cases, and you never know. Some of these could be true criminals that actually need to pay for their consequences for whatever crime they've committed.
Right, assuming that there is violence involved.
Yes, yeah.
But a lot of these seem to be drug cases where they falsified what the substances actually were.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. Right now, I believe the lab tech is facing some sort of charges. The picture on the news release is her standing there in court. So I'm assuming she's facing something, but I just don't see it at this very second. 27 counts of perjury and tampering with evidence.
Ouch.
And obstruction of justice.
Ooh.
And at the same time, it says that civil suits are starting to pile up as those accused of crimes based on her evidence now accuse her of violating their right to a fair trial. So
I would probably be doing the same thing. To be honest with you.
This lady's career is pretty much over.
Yes,
completely. Trying to find her name. Apparently, it's a lab tech out of Massachusetts. Name's Annie Ducan. So yeah, she was a former chemist in the state crime lab. So
gotcha.
That's a big no-no for job security if you're
completely.
So you want to talk about the Omaha
Yeah, I
uh,
can. Yeah.
towing?
Let me just pulled up here. We got so out of Omaha, we police showed up to, from what I understand, from what the article says and the video shows, is police showed up to tow a vehicle. I'm assuming the two brothers then pulled up and questioned why the vehicle was being towed. From what I've seen in the video, it doesn't seem like the brothers at all get very angry or anything. They're just asking questions why the vehicle is being towed. And the police basically don't like the fact that they're asking questions. The one brother is then grabbed and tackled to the ground by the police officers, and the other brother pulls out his cell phone and starts recording. This goes on for a few minutes in the video, and he's yelling at them because you can see the officers punching the other brother on the ground while he's still being subdued, very aggressively. Um, all the time that the other brother's recording. More officers then show up. The brother obviously realizes that the other officers are there to get him for recording, runs into his house, gives the cell phone that he's been recording on to his aunt or grandmother. It's I'll find it in a second. The officers then chase him into the house, enter the home without a warrant, knock over the woman that's in the wheelchair that has the phone, knock her out of her wheelchair, then proceed to arrest him. And from what it looks like from the video, they actually start combing around the property and like searching, which is completely unconstitutional without a warrant, and then arrest him for videotaping.
Yeah, and of course they, like usual, end up charging him with disorderly conduct and obstructing police, which
Yes, but
he
luckily,
wasn't actually doing.
yeah, no, he came back on the grass on the other side of the street. I mean, he's completely in a perfect spot.
Yeah,
Um,
in the video when you're watching it, and then the backup police show up,
mhm.
they don't even go over to the
To help
cop
the
who's
original
trying to.
officers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They'd make a beeline straight for this guy, and he just
Oh,
realizes that he is outnumbered, so
oh,
he's going to
completely.
retreat to his house. But obviously, because he ran, or for whatever reason, that they chase him down into his house, as if that's a justifiable act to do that.
Yeah. But luckily, obviously, we have a good neighbor across the street that captured it all on video. And actually, I'm sure those guys and all of us are extremely happy that person was recording and caught
Yeah.
all that.
So, do we know if so far if that video that the brother recorded on a cell phone, do we know if that's been
For,
you muted yourself?
oh, I did.
So we do we know if that video still exists?
All right, am I unmuted now?
No, you're good.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, on the channel that the video is posted on, I tried to contact them. They said to. They gave an email, and I attempted to contact them, ask them some questions. But on there, it doesn't say that the phone has been given back yet. It just says that they're facing charges still.
So it remains to be
Oh.
seen if that the video that the brother recorded will.
Was Yeah, if it'll turn up or if it was deleted or what's going on.
Yeah. So
So I'm
well,
hoping to hear back from them. Like I said, I've emailed them and hoping to contact them.
yeah, hopefully even if they did confiscate the phone and tried to delete the video, that somebody will at least try to recover the video.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, all something like Carlos Miller did when he was at the Occupy protests,
Mm-hmm.
and they deleted his video, but he
It's still
managed to
there,
recover it. Yeah.
and you can get it back off of there. So,
So I was just browsing YouTube in my usual channels, and it's really funny that I came across this because just last week, or it might have been a couple weeks ago, YouTube star FPS Russia was raided by the ATF, and of course, they walked away with nothing, even though he had plenty of weapons on the property. Apparently, 40 ATF agents were used in that particular raid, but they walked away with nothing and no charges and no evidence of any wrongdoing anyways. So I was just watching one of my kind of favorite YouTube personalities. He does a gardening show, and he had an interesting encounter with the cops. So we'll just play a little clip of the video where he talks about it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Let's pull it up and let everybody watch that.
So anyways, my flight got in late last night, and I get home only to find out my friend, who's currently staying with me, found out that she told me that about 8 o'clock last night, and I got home about midnight, there were some people knocking on the door. And, you know, and they wouldn't stop knocking on the door, and she was kind of scared because she's a, you know, younger lady and she's home alone, and it's these big dudes, and they're just in plain clothes. So finally, she, you know, they just wouldn't go away. So she like peeked out the window and she saw that, you know, they had badges. And then she was kind of freaked out. So she opened the front door, and luckily I have like a gate, and I always recommend you guys have an accessory gate. You know, so if you open a door, you still got like a screen to protect you from whoever's outside, whether it's the cops or anyone else. And, you know, then they said, we've had some complaints that, you know, you're growing weed. We got some complaints from some neighbors. And then they just, and then she answers the door. Get this, in my hoodie here, and this is my hoodie. I got it free at a hydroponic show, and it says Grow GH, and that's generalhydro.com. And you know, it's quite unfortunate yet that police and many people, you know, equate growing hydroponically with growing, you know, weed or medicinal herbs like that, because there are other applications actually, you know, to grow vegetables, grow high quality vegetables at that. And she finally answers the door in a GH shirt, and then they're like thinking in their brains, haha, she's got something to hide. She didn't answer the door, and she's wearing a hydro shirt or hydro hoodie. She must be really into it, man. And so then what happens is somehow, and I don't exactly know how this happened, you know, and this is why I'm making this video, to let you guys know of your rights. Because, you know, here in the US, we have the Constitution and we have the Bill of Rights. And we have certain rights, you know, as citizens of the USA, that, you know, we have the freedom of speech. We have, you know, the right to bear arms. We have the right to, you know, no illegal search and seizure, and a whole bunch of other ones that I forget. But those are the most important ones, in my opinion. So, you know, then what happens was she saw one cop come to the other cop with a bunch of stack of papers. And what was that, a warrant or something? And like it's something official and stuff. And somehow she doesn't really know how it happened, but, you know, cops have their ways of, like, you know, getting in the door, because that's their job, and they'll use any tactics they deem necessary, including telling fibs, telling lies, to get in to basically do their job. And, you know, I don't fault any police officer or cops for doing their job, because, you know, that's what they're hired for, that's what they're doing, and I appreciate them and their work when they legitimately have people that are committing crimes. Now, when they're, you know, badgering people that are, you know, honest people, that's not cool, and they need to be doing something else with their lives. So anyways, let's continue with the story. So then somehow they ended up getting in the house, and then they were saying, you know, do you guys grow weed, or is there weed growing here and stuff like that? And then, you know, she'd say, no, we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, we grow our own. And then they were questioning about, like, you know, in the living room area, there's actually lots of cases of fruits, because I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and besides growing my vegetables, I don't really have too many fruit trees, so I buy a lot of fruit. And there's cases of fruit, and, you know, to the average person, you walk into my house, it might look very odd until you get to know me, and that I really do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, more than the average person. And then they're like, do you sell this stuff? And all this, I don't know, all this crazy stuff. And they're just, I don't know what they're thinking, because they're just thinking they're going to do a drug bust, and people that are into drugs are, I don't know, crazy or something. And then they look down the hall, and then that's when what you guys saw in the last couple episodes, actually, is where I plant my tree collards. And in the bathroom window, there's a little window, and at night, because my lights come on at night, you see the little shining purple lights out of it. And in general, you know, those little grow lights, the LED lights that I have, are used for growing medicinal herbs in many cases, but, you know, people also use them to grow vegetables legally. And so then they saw down the hall that the lights were on, and they were like, huh, I think we found what we were looking for. And they started running down the hall, and my friend who's staying with me ran in front of them. She said, we eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and these are just some vegetables growing. And then sure enough, they go down there, and guess what? You know, there was no weed to be found. I'm not growing any medicinal herb or anything like that. It's just vegetables. It's my tree collards, man. They don't understand the tree collards are very valuable plants. I don't know if they're as valuable as some medicinal herbs on the street, but to me, the tree collards are very valuable because they're a plant that will actually grow in Vegas 365 days a year. I mean, even in 100 and triple digit weather in the hundreds in the freezing winters, and continue to put out leaves for you to eat. I mean, what other crop can you grow in Vegas that's like that? I mean, there's not too many that could survive the extreme sun and the extreme cold. So anyways, then after that, they're kind of let down. Then they started questioning her about some other things and stuff. And, you know, I just wasn't too happy to hear about all this, because if I was home, it probably definitely would have been handled a little bit differently. So in any case, they ended up going their way. They didn't find what they were looking for. And, you know, she explained that she's a young lady and she was scared of answering the door, and she was just doing laundry, and this was one, it wasn't even her shirt. And they didn't find anything, and then they basically just went on their way. So then after that, what happened was, after they didn't find anything in the bathroom, what happened was they actually, she's like, oh, well, look at our garden in the backyard, you know, and they didn't really seem too interested in learning about the backyard garden, because she's like, yeah, we grow a lot of food. And then they're like, what do you do with that food? Do you sell it? Because what, selling your own food that you grow, is that illegal too? Probably. I mean, at this point, they probably just want to pin something, because, I mean, they're in the house, they totally screwed up, and now they're looking bad, they lost face, and they want to just get you on something, right? And they didn't find anything. And she says, no, we're, you know, we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and we grow our own food. And, you know, I mean, so I think it's sad that, you know, the world has come to this where, you know, the police that are trying to do good for society and follow the laws are in some ways not following the laws, because they will lie and do what they need to do to get in your house to see what they're not supposed to see or whatever. And she felt compelled to let them in because she wanted to prove that we don't have anything, you know, illegal here. Which, I mean, I'm just growing food, and I grow no medicinal herb or anything like that.
So I thought this was great to hear this particular story. This is John from GrowingYourGreens.com, and I don't know his particular political leanings, but obviously a lot of what he said was something that I think we can all agree with. That, you know, the cops will use whatever tactics they need to get into your house, and you know, why are they wasting their time pursuing peaceful people who have harmed nobody? It's just for growing a plant. So I thought this was really funny that it just happened to show up in my feed that, you know, one week a YouTube personality gets busted, well, not busted, they just get raided, and then the same thing happens to this guy. They, you know, come to his house and claim to have some sort of probable cause, even though they have nothing. All they have is, oh, you have a purplish light coming from your bathroom in the evening. You know, what's that all about? It's like, really? There are legitimate uses for having grow lights and all that stuff. And I thought it was really funny that she happened to be wearing the General Hydro hoodie when when she answered the door. So that was pretty funny. But I mean, it's one of those things that there are legitimate uses, so your probable cause is not probable cause. It's not even reasonable suspicion, because you actually have no actual evidence of anything actually going on. And in this case, there's legitimate uses for what they're doing anyways. So as you know, it's like we were talking about, you know, I own a car. Does that mean you have probable cause that I have been drunk driving? Probably not. So that was funny that this just came out of
yeah, no, that's
YouTube.
That is.
And then following up the following day, I came across another article that is very similar to this, and it was a couple's house was raided for the sole reason that they had purchased hydroponic grow equipment. Of course, they were they were purchasing equipment to grow tomatoes and squash and other fruits and veggies in their basement. So, it was just a, father-son project just to build a hydroponic system, and they weren't doing anything illegal. The only thing that they had done is purchased hydroponic equipment, which has a legitimate use. So
that doesn't mean you're growing marijuana or anything else. Yeah.
So it says that heavily armed sheriff deputies wearing bulletproof vests raided their house at 7:30 in the morning, making rude comments and accusing them, of course, of growing marijuana. And this kid's only 13 years old, so they're accusing this kid of growing marijuana hydroponically, blah, blah, blah. So
wow.
It's just ridiculous. 2 cases in a week of people getting searched. Yeah, getting searched just for having grow lights or hydroponic stuff
for wanting to grow their own food.
Right, exactly. Wow. So their probable cause seems to be so flimsy. It's amazing that they get away with this stuff. So I'm curious if there's going to be any follow-up to either John's escapade or the Kansas couple, if they are going to seek any civil action against the police for their obvious lack of respect for other people's rights.
Yeah, obviously. Well.
So you want to talk about the Marine who had his gun taken off of him?
Yes, so I'm sure I know a lot of people have seen that video. It's I don't even know what the video count is at now. It was well over 1 million, like within the first week or few days it was out. But we're talking about the well, I believe he's still active. Isn't he still active duty? I know they called him a veteran, but I think he's still active. But yeah, so you got the Fort Hood soldier was taking a hike with his son, and his son's in Boy Scouts, and he has to do a 10-mile hike. So they go, from what it looks from the video even, and he also states that the fact that they're out on a back country road away from the population, hiking, walking, and he has what looks to be an AR, but from what I've been told and corrected, that it's a 22. It looks like an AR on his chest that is strapped, and he's not holding it. And gets stopped by a was it a sheriff, or I believe it was a sheriff. But he gets stopped, and obviously the cop instantly freaks out at him for carrying, which is completely legal to open carry, even on your front. The officer then tries to rip the rifle from his chest. Luckily, he tries to stand up for his rights and pulls out a phone and starts recording, has his son record. Turns into a pretty big, ugly mess. Another officer shows up, and they basically argue the fact that he doesn't have the right to carry blatantly on his chest. They then confiscate his weapons and handcuff him and arrest him and search him with no probable cause, in my opinion, completely trampling all over his rights, and then arrest him for resisting arrest, which seems to be the common, when we don't have anything to charge you with, we make up stuff, arrest.
Right, but of course, how can they charge you with resisting arrest if they are arresting you for nothing? They can't arrest you for nothing. So if you resist an arrest for nothing, you're not really resisting arrest, because you're not being arrested for anything.
Well, that comes the point of being able to legally resist arrest when it's unlawful.
Right.
So technically, he has every right to resist arrest when it's an unlawful arrest. So he was fully within his rights to resist, but even then he didn't resist, though. I mean, if you watch the whole video, he never really resists. I mean, He tries to state his points, but they've already got him in handcuffs when he's really arguing with them. about his rights. So, I mean, they've already have him under arrest, or at least detained when he's arguing. So you really can't say he resisted. So he's trying to battle the charges. I know they changed the charges to what was it? It's
interfering with a public official.
Yeah, interfering. And I'm like, I still don't even get that. How does one interfere with a public official when one was walking down the street minding his own business and the public official interfered with him?
Right, exactly. I mean, how do you get the interfering when they're the ones who initiated contact to begin with?
Exactly. So it's just a blatant trampling of his rights. He's trying to fight the charges. I don't know if they're going to do any sort of civil lawsuit against that jurisdiction or not. But he's got a website up where he's collecting donations. We'll put a link down on the bottom when we're done shooting this video, and so you guys can check that out and read it. And if you want to help him out and donate to him, you can.
So I haven't seen it in here. Do we now know how old his kid is?
I don't know actually.
But either way, I was pretty happy with the kid's performance in this particular incident. He stayed relatively calm. I think he was actually
till the very end.
Till the very end, but he stayed calm and just observed and
did a great job with the camera.
Yeah, that was exactly what his job was at that time, to make sure that everything was documented. And he didn't then put himself in danger of getting taken away in handcuffs as well.
And I don't blame him for his slight, what sounds like a slight breakdown at the end when they're putting his father into the cop car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a scary thing to watch. I mean, this is your father that's teaching you all about Boy Scouts and going walking with you with guns, and I mean that's a cool fatherly bonding experience. And then to watch your father get stuffed in the back of a cop car and they said they're taking him to jail. I mean, that's pretty traumatizing. I mean, I would probably freak out a little bit too.
Yeah,
that's my dad. What are you doing?
That's a good example of if you are a secondary person involved in the incident and you are trying to record it, that he showed some pretty good nerves through most of the whole thing to stay calm and engage as little as possible in the situation so you can properly document it and make sure that video gets out to those who need to see it, so nothing happens to that particular recording, so it doesn't go missing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I thought it was a blatant trampling of his rights, but his son did a great job.
Yeah.
I hope you guys check out that link, and
and you muted yourself again. There you go.
How does one not? I didn't mute myself. It's doing it automatically or something.
Okay. Maybe you're talking too much.
Maybe.
So another story that I actually pulled right off of the CopBlockRadioShow website was it was probably just in their feed. A Chicago cop was charged with sex abuse when he pinned down a female officer and touched her inappropriately. So he had bond set at $25,000, and he had one count of criminal sexual abuse and unlawful restraint. So this kind of shows. I'm amazed that he even did this to another police officer. It's not like she's probably not carrying a gun,
she's also armed, yes.
Yes, this is probably not the target that you want to go after. So
no, would not be the helpless woman I think he was trying to go after.
Yeah, I mean you can chalk up the not only is he an asshole, but he's an idiot.
Yes, it's pretty blatantly stupid to try to do that to a fellow officer. And then my question, so his bond's at $25,000. Now, say you or I would have done that. and assaulted an officer and touched her inappropriately. Well, number one, we probably would have been either shot or tased. And number two, I'm sure our bail would be much higher.
Not only that, we would probably be charged with assault on a police officer.
Well, yeah, and that's what I don't.
This guy wasn't.
He's not getting charged with assault on an officer, which is that seems very hypocritical. Is it only because he's an officer too? So if you're an officer, you can't assault an officer? Is that what we're getting from this?
Right. So, according to the account, I'm trying to find it. Belmonte. That's his last name, at least. Don't see his first name. So apparently he placed his hands on the woman's chest, pressed down, restraining her, tried to kiss her, and then the woman pushed him away and told him to leave. And apparently this was at a party. I don't know what the party was about specifically, but
so they're both off duty then.
At least the offender was off duty. I'm assuming the other lady was off duty as well. I don't see it specifically, but
well, then I could see the not being charged with assault on an officer then if they're not on duty.
Yeah. So that might be why that particular. Okay. Well, you never know. Who knows? I don't know. Can you get assault on a police officer even if they're off duty?
I have no idea. I've never assaulted an officer to find out, so I wouldn't suggest it.
So this lady's been an officer for more than 20 years. So it's not like this is her first go around the block, and it's not like she's a rookie recruit, anyways.
Yeah.
I just find it that this guy is such an idiot.
Does this guy have a more extensive record than just that, or is this his first time acting inappropriately?
It seems to be the only time at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all I have right now. This just happened. Actually, this just happened. So there'll
be more to it.
There's probably going to be more to it coming down the road. So apparently he's only been on this particular third year on the job. So
okay, so he's kind of new.
Yep.
All right. Well, hopefully we can touch base on that next week then with the next episode. We'll update you if we know more.
So that brings us to a second cop acting irresponsibly. A former Minneapolis police officer is facing allegations that he raped a juvenile. And I don't see when on that particular one, but he was charged with new charges earlier this week for trying to solicit sex from an 11-year-old.
How? I'm sorry, I'm just kind of speechless on that. How does one elicit sex from that young of a person?
Right, and his previous charges from 2 months ago was with 3 counts of criminal sexual misconduct when apparently he had sex with a 14-year-old girl and had sexual encounters via chat and Skype with 3 girls ages 13 and 14.
Yeah, so it really sounds like this guy might be a pervert.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Needless to say, he is not a cop anymore.
I hope not.
Apparently, he worked for the Minneapolis Police Department since 2008, and after his first arrest for the previous charges that I stated, he was the last day on the force was February 8th. So
of this year,
he got canned. Yeah, apparently he got canned on February 8th, and that was probably stemming from the first charges of the sex with a 14-year-old, and then these new charges were for soliciting an 11-year-old on Facebook.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
I don't get that stuff.
I don't. They must not be having a very good screening process on who they hire.
Something. It's baffling to me. The gentlemen that we keep seeing being given badges
And it
and
wasn't.
are being hoping that they'll protect us, but it's really looking like a lot of them don't. I mean, I know there are a lot of good ones. And I know some personally, like great officers, but yeah, I think we need to do a little more extensive checking on them before we give them the right to protect us.
Yeah, I had a family member in the past who applied to be, but then decided not to. Thank God, be a police officer. And during the screening, they have a lie detector test, and one of the questions was, "Do you have sex with animals?" Like what? That was actually part of the screening.
Again,
uh,
with my speechlessness now.
so maybe they've laxed those particular type of questions from the screening
Maybe.
process. What was the article recently that somebody was suing over hiring practices of some police department where they were rejecting people for being too smart?
Really?
Do you remember that story?
I don't actually. I don't.
No,
I'm not familiar
I
with that
don't
one.
have I can't remember the full details off the top of my head, but apparently there is a case going on somewhere. I'll have to look it up. I'll bring it up
You're
next
too
week.
smart. You can't be an officer.
Yeah, they were
It
rejecting
doesn't.
people for having too high of an IQ. So
It's,
apparently they just want the people who are obedient and
yeah,
can't think for
obedient, dumbed down.
themselves.
Yeah, I would. You would hope that as a police department, one would want intelligent officers dealing with things. So it's again baffling there. I would want. I mean, if I was a police chief or in charge of the police department, I would want intelligent officers. That would be a requirement for me.
I know exactly. I mean that's how we get in these places that we're at now, is having the obedient people who, oh, I'm just enforcing the law. I don't make the laws. Well, that's no excuse
No.
for anybody else. So why is it an excuse for you to blindly do whatever you're told?
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. I mean, I get pulled over. I didn't know that was against the law. That's not going to stop me from getting in trouble.
Exactly. I mean, how am I supposed to know all these things? It's
Yeah,
impossible.
that's craziness.
So you want to talk about the police
Yeah,
officer in New York
yeah. This
City,
came out.
and you muted yourself again. There you go.
Am I back? All right.
Yep.
See, it's like auto muting me. I don't understand what's going on here. So last night on RT it came out. I don't know if any of you watched any of the Occupy protests, but a NYPD officer that was filmed was a pretty popular video on YouTube. That was filmed when they had the orange nets and they pepper sprayed and punched multiple protesters. That officer.
You're muted again.
Wow, back? No?
Yep, you're back.
All right. I need to stop touching the computer. All right. So this officer is now not going to face charges for assaulting and pepper spraying people when it was not needed because supposedly the video is insignificant evidence that he had done so. I don't understand that at all. I mean, one brings in a video of what this officer does, and it's wow, can't pronounce stuff today. Not sufficient evidence to prove that he has done so. I mean, it's on video of him blatantly doing it, and they're like, "Oh no, that's not good enough."
What does he think these people work for, like George Lucas or something, digitizing his little pepper spray into the frame seamlessly?
Yeah, we photoshopped that one.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
it's ridiculous. This blatant. I mean, how much better of evidence can you get
Than video? Yeah.
And it's video right there. It's not like it's a security camera. It's not like it's all choppy. It's the guy taking the video is like 3 feet away.
Yeah, he's right there. I mean, you can't mistake like, oh, it wasn't that officer. Maybe it's very clearly
Yeah,
seen in the video that it was him. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
and it's not
understand it.
like he's one of these guys that doesn't really stand out. I mean, he's not your typical officer. He's got a. I'm sure there aren't a whole lot of police officers that look like this guy. It's
No,
just,
no, not at all. I mean, he's very distinct looking. He's got the white suit on, and compared to the rest of the officers that are in either blue or black, it's kind of hard to tell. I'm not familiar with the New York uniforms. I don't know if they're blue or dark blue or black, but he's in the white one. So, yeah, and I mean, how does one mistake that as not evidence?
man. So this brings up something that was posted on CopBlock just 2 days ago. There is a guy who's starting a petition to create a police officer impeachment act, which is essentially they want to be able to make it so that people can fire police officers since they're the ones who are ultimately who they are accountable to. So I don't, me personally, I don't understand why the city council or like these review boards or these unions have so much power over these employees who are our employees and are accountable to us in the first place. So this is a pretty interesting tack to take to see if anything could even come of this, considering that the police unions are so insanely powerful and that these review boards, 9 times out of 10, reverse any time a police officer is fired for total misconduct of their duties.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. I like the theory of it, but I see yeah, like you're saying, the power of the unions. It's I don't know, it sounds like an awesome idea. Great petition.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of rough that you have to submit a petition to
Hmm.
the people who are screwing you in the first place to say stop screwing me so bad.
So, yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad that he did it. It shows the courage, and that many people signed it. It obviously shows that people are sick and tired of it and wanted to knock it off. But I mean, the fact that you have to go to those steps to get something like that dealt with is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it shows that people are just sick of the lack of accountability that
Mhm.
police officers seem to have because they're so insulated from those who they purport to serve when we can't actually do anything about their misconduct and what ultimately happens to the particular police force that's in our area. I mean, I forgot where I was going with that.
Happens, totally happens.
Yeah, but yeah, so I don't remember at this point. So right now it looks like there's about 360 people who have signed the petition. Obviously, it's not excessively large, um, but it's
It's
a
a
step in
start.
the right direction. Yeah.
It's a start. It'll get there. I'm
Yeah.
sure enough people will see it and enough people will sign it, but still, it's sad to see that we have to get to that, to go to that, to address something that way to get the point across.
Yeah. I was saying, you know, they're so insulated from those who they purport to serve that we can't do anything about what happens, and especially like if they do something and a civil suit happens, who pays? I'll give you one guess,
The
and it's
taxpayer.
not. Yeah, there you go. It's not the police officer who committed the offense in the first place. They have no personal liability, so
None.
it comes out of your own pocket to pay for the indiscretions of the people who you're already paying to work for you. So it's just ridiculous that the people who are paying their salaries can't do something about the police force that is in their area to begin with directly. They have to go through all these crazy layers of the onion to try to just get one police officer fired, only to then be overturned by a review board because the unions are so powerful that, if they don't put this bad cop back on the force, that would make way for the other half of the 90% that is still.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Are you serious?
Finally, you did it.
How did I mute myself?
I don't know, but you did.
Oh, I didn't even have. Well, weird.
Good stuff.
All right.
I know it's not just me.
Yeah. So, as far as personal accountability, this is from the Innocent Project, a prosecutor who prosecuted Michael Morton in Texas has ruled that the former district attorney I said that yesterday too. District Attorney Ken Anderson will face contempt and tampering charges for failing to turn over evidence pointing to the innocence of Michael Morton, who was later exonerated by DNA evidence after he served 25 years for his wife's murder, which he didn't do.
Wow.
I'm amazed that this DA is actually currently being held personally responsible when we rarely ever see malicious prosecutions ever get punished.
No.
When something as bad as this happens. I mean, constantly we're seeing it's not just at the police level, but it's in the justice system where they turn a blind eye to all this evidence against their case. Obviously, they're not going to bring it in because they want to win. They have no stake in the outcome other than keeping their job if they don't win all these cases. So once they screw up and realize, whoops, we shouldn't have brought this case against this particular individual because he's not we might as well just go through it and finish it off, and we'll try to get a positive outcome, at least for us, even though it's not an actually honest outcome to begin with.
Yeah, well, that's an awesome step in the right direction. Finally, because all the time you see people get, let go on, exonerated on some charge, and they get, of course, taxpayers settle them out a payment for having to sit in jail for that long when they were innocent, and then no one gets held accountable for it. It's, oh, sorry, we messed up. It's not somebody totally did something wrong and shouldn't have and is now going to pay a consequence for it.
Right, and I know a lot of these cases that DNA ends up exonerating the person are kind of, those circumstantial cases where everybody was on the up and up. They believe that this happened this way, and there are obviously mistakes of the people who happen. But if everything's on the up and up, then well, it's going to happen sometimes. But
yeah, of course.
In this case, everybody was not on the up and up, and they just wanted to get a conviction, no matter who got harmed in the process, and no matter if it was actually accurate or not.
I've seen that too many times, and I think a lot of us have seen that too many times. It's somebody committed a crime, and somebody is going to pay for it, whether or not they actually did it or not. Right. Someone has to go down and take the blame for it.
Yeah, and the Innocent Project is obviously doing a great job on trying to get DNA evidence to help exonerate individuals who are on death row or are serving life sentences and all this stuff. And it's sad that so many people have been exonerated by the Innocence Project, that it's just mind-blowing that so many people could actually wind up in prison even though they
or
had,
dead.
or dead. Yeah, exactly. Once you're executed, you got no way to come back. Or if you spend 25 years of your life in jail, you might as well be dead. And that's a ridiculous amount of time, especially if you're 80 when they finally figured out that, whoops, we shouldn't have had you in jail. And your life's over.
Then it's basically no amount of money that they could give you can make up for it at all. It's thanks for the money, but it didn't help.
So I would hope that we start seeing more of these, that those who are working for the state to put people in jail for various crimes are held accountable for the indiscretions that they commit against another human being when they're trying to withhold evidence or fabricate evidence, or try to make the picture rosy for their side and dismiss all that other stuff that they don't want to talk about. It's sad that the state should be working to make sure that people who are not supposed to be in jail aren't in jail.
Yes.
That should be their main thing, is not let's put people who need to be in jail in jail. It should be let's keep people out of jail who should not be in jail. Which we have our current justice system where, you're presumed innocent and all that. But it only goes so far when the players involved are doing everything on the level. And if not, then we have these problems where people are getting thrown in jail because of the state purposely withholding evidence in this case to do that. So
that in my opinion is wrong, to withhold evidence to make sure they can get their conviction. Now I can see, kind of like you were saying earlier with the if mistake happens, okay, when they did everything by the books, how it was supposed to be done, and something happens, it's not as big of a deal. Still not right. They're being convicted wrongly, but when it's blatantly withheld or forgotten about, or like you said, made to look rosy for their side, that's not right.
Exactly. So I think the last thing we have tonight is out of Wisconsin, where this isn't just specific to Wisconsin, but one of the advantages for, or one of the incentives for police departments in the war on drugs is asset forfeiture, which a case in Wisconsin has found that through a specific case that the penalty, or in this case what they seized, was unconstitutionally excessive for the crime committed. So in this case, a man was made arrangements to purchase 1 ounce of marijuana for $355. After that sale, he asked for a larger quantity of 6 ounces for $1,500. The sale was not completed as the man was arrested with felony possessions with intent to deliver marijuana. What they seized was a 2009 Mitsubishi Lancer GTS, which had a value of $16,000.
So he set up to buy marijuana, and they took his car?
Yes. So he was selling marijuana to, it looks like, an undercover police officer. He sold the 1 ounce, and then the undercover asked to buy a larger amount, which he agreed to sell. So they took his vehicle because that's what he used to transport the drugs. But the maximum fine for the misdemeanor for a felony charge was only $10,000. So they took a vehicle worth $16,000 for something that had a maximum fine of $10,000.
And again, this is the Justice Department or Police Department setting up illegal activities to try to bust people.
Right, and they are prosecuting the mere act of a mutually agreed to exchange
that they
goods.
set up.
Right, that they set up. So I mean, it's not like this guy he didn't harm anybody. He was just partaking in a mutually
sale of mutual goods.
Exactly. So
yeah.
It's crazy that they would go after his vehicle just for what ended up being he was convicted for just mere possession. He wasn't even convicted for the intent to deliver.
Not even the sale or deliver or anything. It was just possession.
So the total.
Wow.
So the whole thing came down to the final fine was only $250.
They fined him $250, but yet they took his $16,000 car.
So that's what the appellate court out of Wisconsin, they reversed the vehicle forfeiture as it being unconstitutionally excessive since he was only fined $250. They didn't need to take his car.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They could have just took some of his marijuana. $250. They could have took an ounce.
Right, exactly.
I'll trade you. Here's an ounce for my fine. Yeah.
I didn't know that Wisconsin was one of those that had these crazy laws.
Yeah. Well, you muted yourself.
Really?
Yep, you cut out. Or at least cut out for a minute there.
Oh, weird. All right, maybe it's just Google's freaking out tonight.
That could be it, yeah.
But so it's I didn't even know that Wisconsin was one of those that did this type of thing, but now it looks like they do. So just another incentive for the police to continue the war on drugs, as it makes them a lot of money.
It does. It's sad. I really think that the war on drugs shouldn't profit the police department at all. I mean, if they're trying to do something supposedly that's right to help people, they shouldn't be profiting from it.
Right, and we see this in other places across the country where they aren't interested in stopping the flow of drugs because they're actually interested on stopping the money going back to the source.
Yes.
So we've seen down in Georgia,
which doesn't stop the drug trade at all. I mean, they'll just bring more. They don't care.
Right. So we see in Georgia, the guy who runs the YouTube channel Honor Your Oath, he has done a lot of videos in Georgia where he shows the cops, sitting on the side of the highway. Of course, every vehicle is facing the
one side. I've seen
the
those
one
videos.
side, which is not the side the drugs flow on. It's the side where the money flows on. So, and that's the insane thing, is that these police departments, in some places, get to keep 100% of what they seize. So,
and it doesn't even they don't even really have to prove that it's drug money. They pull you over and you have a large amount of cash, they seize it.
Right. There's been stories coming out where somebody was on their way to buy a car, So they had like 12 grand in cash on them, and of course they seize it, and then that person is now
Out
having
12
their
grand and can't get their new car.
right. Well, now their money is being held ransom, and they're going to pay a ton of money for
Court costs,
court costs
everything.
and lawyers and all this stuff. So just to fight to get their money back, they're not even.
It's almost not worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be somewhat worth it, but it's like they're not going to get the full amount back because they may get their 12 grand back, but they have to spend like 6 grand in legal costs just to get the 12 grand back. And good luck trying to get the 6 grand of your legal costs reimbursed. They're going to sell you up the river for that. So it's just ridiculous that on this particular level of accountability that people are not compensated for these types of transactions where to court you have to all these fees and whatnot. You find that you are not in the wrong. Well, they find you are not in the wrong at all, and you still don't get your fees for your lawyer, all that fun stuff. So it's just ridiculous that they can crush the little people just by bringing BS charges against them because they know they're just gonna get ruined.
Yeah.
So
that is craziness.
So hopefully we can see a decline in these types of things. I know there are a few states that have been reassessing their forfeiture laws because of things like this, and we've seen some states starting to legalize marijuana specifically. But hey, it's a step in the right direction, and that's probably making at least a little bit of difference on how the police departments are trying to fund themselves. Hopefully they are actually going after people who hurt other people and not just peaceful people who have harmed nobody. So.
And just going after their cash load. Yep. Yeah, that's a sad day.
So I think that's it. Again, we were going to try to get Jacob on from Ohio CopBlock. He just got out of jail. But apparently there's some problems with mobile devices, and hopefully we can try to get him on next week. We're also trying to get our buddy Scott on, and he kind of came in and out and in and out, so you might see him pop up along the bottom, but he didn't say anything. So
we're having problems with getting him in on the audio feed.
Yeah, so just 2 weeks in a row. Hopefully we can get it fixed for next week, and we'll fix that up. So like I said at the beginning, you can send your comments or questions if you want to talk about any specific topic, or you have a question in general related to CopBlock or a police state question, or any types of those types of questions. Feel free to send them over to CopBlockRadioShow@gmail.com. And if you have a story that you'd like to point our way, or maybe even if you would like to talk about something that you specifically were involved in on the show, maybe we can bring you on, that type of thing. For the rest of the people out there in CopBlock land, if you have a local group and you'd like to promote your local group and talk about what you guys are doing or anything that's going on in your area, please feel free to contact us as well. And
see about get them on the show.
It'd be nice to be able to see what's going on around the country in other groups. So you can go ahead and contact us that way. You can find Adam over at Spokane CopBlock on Facebook. You can find me, Eric, at freerockpress.com, and you can also find me at ohiocopblock.org, and both of those have Facebook pages as well. So hopefully we'll get started at a normal time next week. We're shooting for 9 p.m. Eastern on a weekly basis on Tuesday nights.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll be able to start right at 9 next week, and we'll be live on YouTube. You can only hope. So
That's right.
so until next week,
That's right.
just remember, badges don't grant extra rights.